Hello. This is me with glasses. But we are in paradise, so we can leave those out and wear these with bright lights and everything. I wait until my slides show up. Then I can skip some stuff. But I'm Jeroen Boersma. I'm the security officer for Hyvä. So I try to find stuff before somebody else does it. And yeah, looks like the presentation is coming on. And I also live in paradise myself, so glad to share some pictures about of that. So let's start. Worked for MateOS as a treasurer, stopped with that this year, handed it over, and now I have some time to find some other stuff. I'm getting old because I'm with Magento for a long time now. Very happy to do that. 21 years with PHP. Yeah, well, that's nice. Ethical hacking, so that was also the reason why Willem said, like, maybe we need to bring an ethical hacker in and take care about security and take a good, close look in what we are doing inside and what we are doing right. And there was a lot of stuff that was going well. Also some stuff we can improve on. Yeah, well, I did that since I could touch PCs. And parenting, it's also sort of ethical hacking, life hacking. You will just do it. And yeah, and creativity, it's also part of hacking because you need creativity to find stuff. So then CSP, what up? Well, if you are we did the migration last year for CSP, and then we started to find some interesting side effects, and I want to take you to some of those, and we also fixed some of those, so we make the world better with that. And this is something you all know. Hyvä supports CSP. Vinay did the talk about this last year. We do have a workshop after this about CSP if you're still struggling with that, migrating code. So if you want to know more about that, find me back then. But let's get into the fun parts, the side effects. So this is Magento default. This is a security header, CSP header, a typical one. This is the good stuff, like you can only load this page from the own domain. So you cannot have clickjacking in there, which is good. And then to the interesting stuff, you see a star here, like that means that you can load any source from any frame. You can send the forms on the page can be sent to any other page, which is like very bad. And this is Braintree, the CSP whitelist XML, just adding that for you. More on that later. And this is the script source. So for every script on the page, you get a CSP hash. And that hash needs to match the code on the page. If the hash doesn't compute, the code, the JavaScript will not be executed, which is quite good. The default for all common pages is that evaluation of code and unsafe inline is allowed. We have the CSP team where you can fully disable these kind of things, and I would really recommend to do that. And all future code we write for the team is also CSP compliant, so in the end we will have one team again which can run in CSP mode and non-CSP mode. But then to the side effects. So the nice part here is unescaped JavaScript, which of course not per se needs to be a problem. Like the first part is like text x Magento in it, but the second part there is like get serialized checkout config, which should be a JSON, right? But what if it isn't JSON? Then it is rendered as a verified tag. So you can put in any JavaScript there. And with that JavaScript, well, you could escape the rest of the code, but it will get a verified SHA hash or nonce and be executed in the front end. Which will make me cry. I mean, this is Magento default, where we always say you need to escape everything, you need to do proper escaping. The worst thing here is if you submit it on HackerOne, for instance, they will say, yeah, it's a feature, not a bug. You need actual access to the code, and then, well, and now we have AI, and all the script kiddies can also use this to do some nice stuff. Just XML injection, and with that XML injection, you get hello darkness, my old friend, which matches the theme here. So nonsense injection is that side effect, which I also like a lot. We see this for SAPs. So single page applications, sparse, they want to inject new dynamic code if you change from page to page. So they use the nonce, which was already on the page, and they will use it to create a new script, inject it into the header, and by that, validating that code. Because if there is a nonce, a valid nonce on the script, then it can be executed. So that brings me to the next part. If you would have a Alpine component that will execute something, but the last name is not last name, but alert XSS, you know what will happen. It will inject a script into your header with alert or whatever JavaScript you have, and it will be executed. So here, this is our dog, Voske. I walk with him every day, not today, of course, but I think this is the nice part of the page. This is where we migrate code to CSP, where it doesn't do any evaluation anymore. So all the script, as you can see here, you have like a JSON object first, then you have equalizations with active is true, whatever, to show the object, and a click. That's not allowed if you do CSP mode. So you need to migrate that. Oh, sorry, it was too fast. And then you get an actual script that has been validated, and then it's executed. I need to add here that the new version of Alpine CSP, which will be released at some point, will allow this kind of stuff, because they added a specific parser which will validate everything before it's executed. And that means that you can do this kind of stuff also in CSP mode. But the first release, that was 3.15.0, they released it and we were like, oh, we can do this again. I tested it and I could do even more cross-site scripting. So we said, let's wait a bit before we released it to all of our Hyvä customers. We are currently doing a test to see how the performance is of that parser versus the regular parser, and then if we are totally compliant with that, then we will release that too. So then we get 3.15, you get more or less these kind of things, but if you want to be on a safe side, just go for this. And that's also included in the workshop later. But again, let's make the world better, because, well, there was a lot of worse stuff, and can we fix some of those? Yes, we can. So we created, after we released the CSP module, we created the optimized allow list, and it becomes smart about which whitelists of CSP it needs to load and which it can skip. So you can see a header here. This is the default header again, with all the script sources. And if you copy and paste those, and as you can see, there is a bad actor, and it's like, oh, look at all that potential. Because if you copy-paste that, you see all these kind of domains which you can use, which do reflective JavaScript. So for instance, the example here, where you say like campaign.adobe.com, then you add the callback parameter, and instead of having a callback, you just put in some JavaScript, and it's been reflected. And of course, it says like status 500, but the response code of the JavaScript is actually 200 OK. So it will be executed in your browser. And it's allowed because it's in the whitelist of the CSP. So what the module does, if you install it, it will say no more. If there is no Google Tag Manager on that page, if there is no Adobe content on that page, I will not load that specific whitelist anymore. And that means that you have multiple options, but you have like all these PHTML files that would add those scripts. So if some PHTML file of the module for Google Tag Manager, for instance, would be loaded, then it would say, okay, then this module needs to be loaded, so that header will be added, and nothing else. So we refresh the page, and next up, the bad actor says like, where are all my attack vectors? And it almost rhymes, but not entirely. So the joke is not entirely successful. But it's messed in my head at some point. So yeah, here we still have Google APIs because on the home page we have a Maps thing, and we have some PayPal for direct buy stuff, and that's the reason why those are still in there. So we have selective headers, but the rest is gone. We can do smart loading, so if you extend upon a module and you say like this is has a parent module which is for instance Google Tag Manager, you create a new script, you load that, then it's smart enough to see, okay, this is an extent on Google Tag Manager, so I also need to include that whitelist. You could also say, let's disable the full whitelist, don't load any whitelist anymore. And that means that you need another way to add maybe hosts you want to trust. So that's why we added a model which you can use, for instance, in a observer, and then you can add some script which is allowed again, or some host which is allowed again, and you can do the same in the template file, which means you can say like add that's awesome as a trusted domain, or you can say this specific hash needs to be added. And that makes a big difference because this lives in the same file where you also define the script tag itself. This is available already for a couple of months. We did some improvements upon that. It's free and open source. I would say just install it and make your store more secure, and let's make the world a better place every day. And thank you.